Hey YouTube, what's happening? Got another little circuit here, but this one is mainly, it doesn't really do a whole lot. It just basically turns that light on, and the whole purpose behind this one is just using different resistors and stuff. So a bit about what's going on here. Coming from the power supply here, we have 12 volts. So we have 12 volts running along this rail here. This is a little power downgrade kind of a station, or so I call it. And so basically once the 12 volts gets handled through these resistors, it jumps the power to these rails here, which is 7 volts. So basically all this section does here is downgrade the voltage from 12 volts to 7 volts. And then these two resistors are working to downgrade the voltage further from 7 volts to 2.2 volts at and drawing 20 milliamps of current, which is, according to specifications, is enough to run this LED here. And I look at the data sheet for this particular green LED. So here's the data. We have the type color green, so it's green. So the maximum current it can handle is 25 milliamps. 2.2 volts is a typical current, and the maximum current is 2.5 volts. And maximum reverse current is 5 volts. So basically, if you hook it up the wrong way, it generally won't work, but it'll still be useful. It can still be used if the current does not exceed 5 volts. However, the volts doesn't exceed 5 volts. If the volts does exceed 5 volts, chances are you'll damage the LED in using the reverse voltage if it's higher than 5. Now, basically how this works is this area here to downgrade from 12 volts to 7. We use I use this little schematic here that I drew up. So basically I have my ground or negative and my 12 volts here, and I've called this one R1, so resistor 1, which is 150 ohms. And generally you're only supposed to use 2 resistors, but basically I'm using 2 resistors that are acting as one because a lot of the resistors tend to heat up, and even now if I touch it a little bit, it's a little bit hot. So we could do some more resistors in there just to kind of distribute the heat a bit better. But I mean, if you were to use one resistor, it would be super hot to a point where it almost starts smoking. So that's why I have this here. 120 ohm plus 100 ohm is 220 ohms. So I'm using 220 ohm for my R2 value. My R1 is just going to be stuck at 150 ohms for my R1. And then using this equation here, voltage out equals voltage in times resistance 2 divided by resistance 2 plus resistance 1 gives me 7.1 volts here, if I multiply it all out and do all the jazz. And then for this part of the circuit here, now that we actually have 7 volts, we use this formula here. R equals Vs minus VL divided by I. So basically, if you look here, we have the resistor, and then we have the voltage supply. In this case, it's 7 minus 2.2 for how much we want for forward voltage off this chart here that I made, and then we divide that by the current. So we want 20 milliamps of current because the maximum is 25. So we'll go 5 milliamps lower than the maximum just to be safe, just so we don't burn out the LED. And then after all that's done, we get a resistor of, we need a 270 ohm resistor. Now, I don't think you can actually find a 270 ohm resistor, or if you can, it's really hard. I couldn't find it in my box of resistors here. So basically I used 2. I used 120 and a 150. So that's the 150 there and the 120 to make 270 to power that. So basically this tutorial is just basically playing around with resistors. If you need help on anything, or if you would like some tutorials on how all this works, you'd like me to post some of the schematics, mostly it's going to be found on the internet. But I'm just having fun. I'm just playing around with this stuff. So basically we'll try to get into more stuff. We'll try, I have this circuit here. Basically the whole reason I wanted 7 volts to begin with is to run this circuit. Now this is a circuit using a 555 timer, a NPN transistor, and a couple other resistors here. We have a 32 K resistor and a 470 ohm, and it also uses a 100 microfarad capacitor with one LED. And this is a basic blinker fader circuit type of dealie. So basically, uses the 555 chip to control the fading and of the LED. But anyway, bam. Thanks for watching, and I'm trying to make these videos as short as possible, but I tend to talk a lot, and it just happens, it just happens like that. But yeah, feel free to email me, etc., etc. Visit my site, www.lordneverdied.com. Chances are this will be posted there. If you have found it from YouTube, if you found it from YouTube, congrats, straight up. And yeah, subscribe to my videos. Thanks. Bye. Bam.